call this meeting to order of the Sheffield Selectboard meeting for September 16th, 2024. First item on the agenda is approval of meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from August 29th, 2024 and September 3rd of 2024.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. The next item on the agenda is approval of release of executive session minutes. And we have quite a list of them. The executive session minutes we're looking to release tonight is June 22nd, 2023, July 13th, 2023, August 7th, 2023, January 2nd, 2024, January 16th, 2024, January 25th, 2024, February 1st, 2024, February 7th, 2024, February 20th, 2024, February 29th, 2024, March 19th, 2024, April 25th, 2024, May 16th, 2024, and June 13th, 2024.
I should probably just abstain from this since only one of those applies to me, if that makes sense to the two of you. All right.
And I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action regarding sale of alcoholic beverages less than or equal to 100 milliliters. I received a phone call from a citizen after having read the minutes in the Sheffield Times, objecting to the board's decision a few months back to put on the ballot the prohibition of selling nip bottles. And so I wanted to bring it back before the board to see if anyone had any interest in discussing this topic.
Well, I did some interesting research, and one of the things that a lot of towns are doing instead of prohibiting them is adding a surcharge or working with the state to add a deposit that then comes back to the towns as funding for things like cleanup and ecological purposes or general fund, I believe. And I think that that's a really wonderful way of approaching this. If it's not going to be up and down the corridor of Route 7, all that we're doing is limiting the businesses within our town from selling something that they can buy 2 miles to the north.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt too. Bob, you have an opinion?
Yes, unfortunately, I still would ban. I have reasoned every which way I can as far as any good reason to have to sell nip bottles. And there is no good reason why. I can think of several reasons other than it does hurt a local business that does sell nip bottles. Hopefully it wouldn't be detrimental to their business. I can't imagine it should be. It's one small item that encourages drinking and driving and littering. And I have no other good reason to think not banning them has a good reason for such. So I stick with my vote that I had before.
I just feel if somebody's going to litter, they're going to litter whether it's a nip bottle or a can of beer or a bottle of beer. I don't really see where it's any different. If they're going to litter, they're going to litter.
As somebody who walks my dogs every day, I pick up both of those things on a regular basis. So I think it is a problem across the board.
So are you interested in making a motion that we not put this on the town warrant for a vote? Or are we going to leave it as, obviously we know Bob's not going to make a motion to support the request that I was given. Or do you want to just leave it as it sits and let the voters have their vote on this?
I think maybe this is something that makes sense to go in front of people to make their determination.
It's kind of how I feel too. I mean,
I think there are alternatives if this doesn't happen that I think are worth exploring, because I think something that sort of discourages people would be helpful. And that's been very effective in New York with plastic bags and things like that, and has driven a lot of funding for the state as well.
Okay, so we'll just leave it as originally decided, and I thank you both for allowing me to bring this back before you so that I could answer to someone who had reached out to me on this topic. Item number 4, update on highway garage. Rhonda, can you bring us up to date as to where we're at?
So after the voters approved the borrowing of $2 million that we had on the special town meeting, we'll now work with our financial advisor to get that borrowing completed as soon as we can. We have a designer in place, and the money will also support the designer and the project manager. We did put out an RFQ for project managers. You all have the responses, and I'm sure you're going to be reviewing them and ranking them and choosing the one that you'd like to work with.
I started that work this weekend, did you?
I did not.
I had a
get
feeling with
into
corn
that.
you didn't have time, but...
Well, I did go over the applications for the town administrator, so I did get some required reading there.
It did not be the Ellen Hillenbrand book, but I read through them myself as well.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get there.
So we'll continue to go through those and try to put some work into it, maybe at our next working meeting or maybe the next working. I don't know if you guys will be ready by Thursday.
I will be ready by then.
You will be
I'll be
ready?
ready.
I will.
Perfect, then we'll do it on Thursday. Thank you. Thanks, Rhonda, I appreciate that. We also have an update on the town administrator position. Unlike the town of Lenox, who had 47 applicants, we did not. And so we've had a conversation with Rhonda, who has agreed to stay with us until April, which gives us more time to put the advertisement back out. We think we're going to wait till after the first of the year when the holidays are done. And maybe Lenox will have hired at that point, and there'll be 46 people willing to apply for our position in Sheffield. I think they're all kind of waiting to see what's going to happen in Lenox. We did receive 4 applicants. At least 2 of them have absolutely no municipal experience. And while Lee keeps telling me I might have to open my mind to hiring somebody without municipal experience, I'm going to resist that screaming and hollering. So, is there anything I missed on that? Anything either one of you want to say on the town administrator position?
Other than one application looks pretty good, but it's tentative at this point, so we can keep our fingers crossed going forward.
I'll just state that I'm delighted that Rhonda has decided to stay with us through April.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think we talked about briefly in our working meeting was the idea that that gets us through a budget cycle, which might be an ideal time to bring somebody in at that point too, because they're not having to figure out the numbers as their first role here, which certainly to me, as a new first selectman, or selectman, is intimidating.
Yeah.
So I can imagine it would be for them as well.
Great. Item number 6, discussion and possible action regarding the library elevator. Rhonda, would you like to share your experiences at the library?
I don't have experiences at the library to share, but I can share my meeting that I had with Dina, who brought over this modernization proposal for their elevator at the library. They've been struggling terribly without an elevator, and because it's so obsolete and the parts are no longer found, their motherboard had to be shipped to Germany and then repaired and then shipped back here. So that's what they're waiting for right now. But in the meantime, they've provided this proposal of $120,000 to modernize the elevator. That was done at this elevator several years ago when the parts for this one could no longer be found, and it's proven to be a very good solution without the millions of dollars for a brand new elevator. So I'm going to suggest that you accept this proposal and provide the ARPA funds to pay for it.
I will make that motion with an understanding that the elevator is critical to that building in terms of people having access
Yeah, you can't
on every level.
You can't get to the desk to even take out a book without climbing up some stairs.
So I will second the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion made and seconded to support $122,327.47 for the modernization of the library elevator, with the funds coming from ARPA.
So, aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great,
The
great.
47 cents almost got me.
I know, but if I'm not explicit, then we can't write the check for that amount. All right. Update on library structural report.
So at that same meeting with Dina, just before we met with our insurance risk manager, who's brand new to the job, and so all of the department heads and building managers were here. And one of the things we found that they have a grant would cover the structural report for the library. So we are going to work on applying for that grant to pay for that, so we know exactly where our library building stands.
Great. Do you need a motion on that, or
No.
you're just going to move forward with it? Great, thanks. Discussion and possible action regarding a firefighter appointment. We have an application from Aaron Moore. And the application has been recommended by the Vigilant Committee members, of which is Bob Beeham and Nick Ball. I can't read the other signature. Bob, do you know who that first signature is?
No, I do not.
Okay, well, there's 3 signatures from the Vigilant Committee from the firehouse, and if they're making a recommendation, I would feel comfortable that we pursue the application. Mr. Moore lives in Ashley Falls.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? No, thank you. Okay, action regarding Kellogg Road Bridge. Rhonda,
Cheers.
you want me to take this up?
It's up to you, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, so the town had requested that DOT do an inspection of the Kellogg Road Bridge, given that our roads and our bridge is taking more traffic due to the Brookside Bridge being closed. And unfortunately, the DOT has informed us that the bridge is in pretty critical case with 3 of the 5 beams being rated at 0. So we are looking at closing the bridge as of 8 o'clock Friday morning. We are also working with our engineer to get us a design for the engineering project, because the only way that you move up on the list with the state for getting money for repairing bridges is to have the engineered solution ready to go. So as hard as we try to stay ahead of our infrastructure, roads and bridges are an outrageously expensive project. And Brookside Bridge, I think, has come in at 11.4 million. Yeah, it's a lot of money. So while it won't be a fast process, we are certainly moving forward to get us on the TIPS program for repairing that bridge. So the Board of Selectmen has put together a press release, which will go out to the Eagle and the Edge. We'll also do a email blast and a reverse 911 announcing that we are going to be closing that bridge. So that press release says, citing a report issued by the Highway Division of Massachusetts Department of Transportation, otherwise known as Mass DOT, after their inspection of the Kellogg Road Bridge, the Selectboard of Sheffield voted unanimously to close the bridge to traffic starting Friday, the 20th at 8 a.m. The report recommended that the bridge be closed to all traffic, citing corrosion of 3 of the 5 girders on the east end of the bridge. The Kellogg Road Bridge serves as a connector between Route 7 and Boardman Street. A detour of approximately 2.7 miles will be created, moving traffic to Maple Avenue. The bridge is on the state's transportation improvement plan for replacement, and that process could take several years. The Select Board and the Town Administrator are working with an engineering firm to develop a design for bridge replacement. While the Board recognizes the inconvenience this may create for members of our community and others using the road, the Board's decision was based solely on safety and called for the closing of the bridge until further notice. Additionally, by closing the bridge to traffic and providing a preliminary engineering study to the state as soon as possible, it will help raise the priority of the bridge project on the tip list for infrastructure improvements. So that's what's going out, and it's not the best news, but we have to do what we have to do to keep us all safe. Okay, Rhonda, October meeting schedule.
Excuse me. So you've adjusted your regular meeting schedule in October, and you're moving it to the second and the fourth Mondays. The second Monday's a holiday, so that'll be held on Tuesday, October 15th, and then the following regular meeting will be on Monday, October 28th, just for the month of October.
So don't show up here on the 1st and 3rd, because we won't be here. Okay, board member items. Bob?
I have none.
Lee?
I do not either.
Okay. I don't either. Town administrator items?
I do. So we have our next household hazardous waste program, which will take place on Saturday, November 9th, from 9 to 1 at the Great Barrington Transfer Station. We have flyers that'll be put on our website. They'll be posted at the transfer station. They'll be posted here in Town Hall, or anybody requesting information or to look closely at the poster can call, and we will certainly provide them with a copy.
I think the more we can do to promote that existing, the better, because everyone has products sitting around
Yes.
that when they don't throw it away properly, it can be pretty
So it will
frightening.
be posted on our website. You can see it there as well.
Very good. Public comment. I'm sure you all are here for something, because we don't usually get more than a handful. Catherine was first, please. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's all right. She snuck her hand up right. The minute I looked at her, her hand went right up. You're absolutely welcome.
Catherine Miller, 801 Clayton Road. I'm here to ask your indulgence about something. You're about to undertake a major process here with selecting a new town administrator. And the town administrator is a real critical part of our life here. In fact, it's possible that the town administrator has more interaction with people in the community than even the select board does. I'm not sure, but I suspect, given the number of people that I know that go in and out of that office, that it's conceivable. You all are here because you were elected by the citizens of the town. We, as the citizens of this town, feel that while it's your purview to decide who the next town administrator should be, that we, as residents of the community, should have some input in the process. We think that it's not unrealistic to have a small committee, I don't mean a huge committee, a small committee of citizens who would be help engage with the select board and perhaps reviewing applications, and I like to say crap detecting them, interviewing or being involved in the interview. We also think that obviously the people who work in this community and report to the town administrator should be engaged in the interview process in some way. We think that a small group of residents, it doesn't always have to be the same group, but we'd like to urge that you folks consider engaging people in this community in some fashion so that it becomes a community project and the community takes ownership in it and feels more engaged and more engaged with folks so that you're not so far away from us. There's a way to do this, and I've talked with the chair of the select board about this, and there are different approaches that can be taken. You can establish questions, and obviously when you have interviews, you should have set questions that people ask. People shouldn't be allowed to shoot from the hip at all. You can establish a grid so it can be rated to make it fair and equitable. And so I'm here representing quite a few people in this community, not just the people here, but others, asking you to please, as you pursue this process, please consider a way to let the community be involved. Thank you.
So I think that the Board of Selectmen has been elected by the citizens to make these decisions, and we certainly will make the selection of the finalists a public interview, it always is. Anybody can come and participate as a citizen observing the interview process for any position we hire from, because the three of us can't do anything without it being a public meeting. Right now, we don't have enough applications for anybody to go through. We've pretty much been able to determine that we don't really have a whole lot of viable candidates right now. And as I announced earlier, we will be going back out after the first of the year. Catherine very graciously sent me a list of questions that she thought could be useful, and I was very pleased to read that all of them are on the list that we currently use, and I did respond back telling her that we do personalize them depending upon what role we're interviewing for. And I guess as we move forward, if we end up with 50 applications, we might want some help.
I think it would be good to have help. I also think that you might consider casting a wider net to seek applicants beyond. I realize that costs money, but you might find some diamond out there.
Well, I do want you to know that the net that we've thrown out there brought in an applicant from Knoxville, Tennessee.
Connecticut.
So, pardon me?
Connecticut.
And Connecticut. You know, when someone in municipal government is looking for a job in municipal government, they go to the municipal government's websites to look for what's available. So MMA is probably our best shot to get someone who has municipal experience. And when we saw somebody from Tennessee, I thought, well, I don't know that we can get much further away than that, except maybe Alaska or Hawaii.
The process will be open, but the final decision does come down to the board.
Yeah.
I understand that. I think we all do.
And the process will be an open meeting process. We can't do anything without it being an open session. We'll have the ability to question, to watch, and be part of the process.
I don't know that they'll have the opportunity to question. I think that's something we as a board have to decide. I think it would be great if the citizens, and in my estimation, equally as important, the employees who work with this town administrator, you know, if they have an observation or something they feel they should share with us before we make our final decision, I certainly would encourage anyone to do that. I'm a little concerned about how we would go about choosing who would work with us. I've had 3 people approach me already, and I'm pretty sure that no matter who I don't pick, I'm in trouble. So, as usual, 50% of the people are mad at the select board no matter what we decide. But, you know, I do think that this is something we can discuss in further detail, especially if we do end up with a whole lot of excess applications.
Something that might be complicated in direct questioning would be, of course, that there are rules and regulations for how we can interview somebody, what we can request of them, what we can ask, and what a violation would cause.
Yes.
So I think whatever system we come up with, everyone needs to be trained in public interviewing techniques that are allowable within the state of Massachusetts.
Yeah, and that even comes to the 3 of us.
Right.
The questions have to be worded in an appropriate manner.
Something
You
that...
have to have the same questions for everybody.
Yes,
Yeah.
we always do,
Right.
Catherine.
Something that I think could be helpful, more so, and I think and it's a more democratic process to my mind, is to allow people to give us feedback of what they're looking for as well, so that we actually have an understanding of people's desires, concerns, requests, skill sets that we may not be thinking of, that people find to be essential to this position, because for every one of us in this room, Rhonda has probably done something else, right? We've all had to go to her for various things, for information. You know, is there, and I don't mean that as much as a discussion of Rhonda, but the position itself. You know, what is lacking in the position if people feel that that's the case, or what are the strengths that we think are most critical within the community that people would like to see there? And I think sharing questions and ideas, and maybe even having a generalized conversation about that as part of this process, could be key in kind of making this as engaged as possible. I have to say, I feel what I'm hearing from Nadine very strongly. Like, I don't understand how we would select that committee in that we are 3 elected officials that were chosen to make this decision. That election process has vetted us on some level. How do we determine what members of the community sit on that committee and reflect the community properly? I mean, in this room, we have some of the most engaged people in the community. Are those the most essential people to ask, or is it everybody else as well? And I struggle with that.
I think if you have ideas or thoughts of what characteristics or qualities that any of you are looking for, we all have email addresses. I'd be happy to entertain a list and start putting that together for us so that we don't miss something important. Another idea that we might take up is that when we do get to the finalists, that we have sort of a meet and greet where the community can come in and shake a hand and, you know, maybe have a one-on-one conversation with that person, especially for those of you who spend some time in town hall. I mean, I don't know how many come in a whole lot of times, but a few of you have been in a couple times a year. And so, you know, your observation of how you interacted with that person, I think would be quite helpful as well. So please come to the microphone.
Todd McKenzie, 514 Ranapo Road, and maybe just to share an observation for a dimension for the board to consider under this idea. And I know it's not apples to apples, but I serve on a number of corporate boards and organizations and do searches for them. In fact, I'm doing a CEO search now. The first rule, as Bob stated, is you all make the decision. You are the ultimate deciders, but that doesn't mean that you cannot delegate to a subset of people basically to do the spade work for you, to bring some value added and bring to you their recommendations for you to ultimately decide. It's a matter of time. It's a matter of who has, you know, the connections and the capabilities to maybe seek out candidates. But that group, and as I say, I'm serving on one now for a board with 3 other board members. The chair of the board and the executive committee ultimately decide. But what we're trying to do is relieve them of some of the basic groundwork. The looking around, the finding of candidates, the vetting of candidates, and then passing them. And in fact, a lot of times the board will come back and say, hit me again. No, you haven't hit the mark. We're not taking any of these. And then ultimately you'll get to some space where they can make a decision. And it's all done, as you guys said, very disciplined, exact same questions, same criteria, because from a governance standpoint, they have to be equally tight. But as I said, the reality is to try and free the board up.
Thank you, Mr. McKenzie. Rachel, you had wanted to come to the, and I skipped over you. I'm sorry. I went to Mr. McKenzie first.
No, this is good. This is wonderful discussion. My name's Rachel Cunningham, 371 Berkshire School Road. And quick question. I was wondering, the notice that you're putting up on the website, can we have that in a blast as a PDF? Because some people...
Sure, it's on the website, but we can certainly put it.
Would you mind very much? Some people might not think to go to the website, and it's an important thing. And just, I had heard over at Sandusfield, they had a 3-person volunteer committee that did the pre-selection. So it's something that's happening in addition to Lennox. Anyway, just FYI.
Yes. I'm sorry, I know your name, but it's not popping into my head at the moment. I apologize.
Gail Mullen.
Gail, thank you.
226 Ewan Street, Sheffield. I've been a commissioner on the Commission for Disabilities for the town of Sheffield, and Rhonda, as the town administrator, has served as our ADA coordinator. And I think this work is, I think we all agree this work is essential to moving the town forward and keeping on track with inclusion and safety and all these things. So I think we're very much hoping that a new town administrator would take as much time as Rhonda has to work with us and as we work with the town to improve things.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Believe me, we know what a void we're getting here. And I'm glad I'm not trying to fill her shoes. You know, I think many citizens have no clue exactly what a town administrator does. Lee told me today he's still not sure what the town administrator does.
I'm not sure of all that she does. Let's just make that clear.
He's still learning because it changes every day. Pat?
Pat Levine, 261 East Main Street. I just wanted to, on Dina's behalf, who could not be here because of car trouble this evening, thank the board for its support of the library's elevator issues, and we look with great joy toward that getting fixed. We have been very concerned about someone injuring themselves, trying so hard to get into a program or into the library for other reasons, so.
Well,
thank you
Dina
very
did a
much.
wonderful job bringing together, you know, a complete bid for us, and we, you know, it's an important community service, the library, and, you know.
We couldn't move on the repair any quicker than what you were getting
Right.
because of the distance that had to travel to get it fixed.
Yeah. Okay, anybody else want to share any thoughts?
Not about the administrator.
No, please,
Anything.
bring to us any thoughts you have.
Anytime.
Okay, well, my only question about the who?
How are you, sir?
Somebody, please. Sari Hoy, 60 Main Street. My only thought about the administrator position is, I'm guessing Lennox was offering probably a lot more money than Sheffield can offer, so that's
Yeah,
maybe
we have to consider where we're at, Rhonda.
There's a difference between Sheffield and
Yeah.
Lennox. Lennox is looking for a town manager. You're looking for a town administrator. So absolutely.
Yeah, it's a completely different job.
Right.
You know,
I can't remember what you said you were posting the position at, but it actually sounded a little low to me.
yeah,
So,
and we need to consider that. We went out low on purpose.
okay.
We
So-
discussed revisiting it before.
Yeah. You've got to start somewhere.
I actually had a citizen call me and say, I don't understand why the town administrator makes so much less than our school superintendent. So,
Yes, so I'm all for trying to sort of attract other people by increasing that number. Also, I remember that you told us how much money was left in the ARPA funds, I think at a special town meeting, but I don't actually remember what it was.
So I'm going to give you an approximate.
Yeah.
260,000.
Oh, I
And we
did
just took
remember it.
one.
I did remember it.
34.
and we just took
And we just took-
125,000 out of it.
So my calculation is that there's 137 approximately left in the fund, and I would ask that we consider to put the remaining number into a fund for housing.
Well, that's a great request. We're building an $8 million DPW center. So,
Well, we also need housing, and so I think the town has approved much for the town garage, and knowing, again, like Kathy says, and like Renee said at the meeting, that it was the number one item on, you know, to the request of what should we
Thank
spend
you.
ARPA funds
We're
on.
well
So
aware
there you
of your
go.
request.
So I say, please put the rest of it to that. And then on the closing of the bridge, and because that's going to actually increase the traffic tremendously, I would imagine, on Maple.
yeah.
So are there considerations on how to manage that increased traffic, especially in the morning?
Yep, we've met with Rhonda and I met with the chief of police today. We're working on signage, we're working on possibly getting a stoplight situation. You know, we have some very large trucks that come down and have to make that turn, so the highway department did a little work on trying to make that
Yeah.
turn a little wider today. So we've got a lot of things in the works, and as I think it was either the chief or our highway superintendent said today, it's going to remain a fluid situation, and we will adjust. We will adjust as we need to.
It is a very tough intersection with the way people zoom up
Yeah.
into Sheffield, despite
We've asked the chief
speed
to-
limit.
We've asked the chief to put some police presence there, especially Friday and over the next couple of weeks, particularly at the really busy times of day when the school buses are moving. You know, that's a real concern, that it's, yeah, we're on it.
And while we mentioned Maple Avenue as the bisector that people can use as a detour, people can also head down Hewins
Yeah.
if they're heading south, and we're hoping people will do so.
Yeah, but
because
that is also a really dangerous intersection, as we know, so.
yeah, well, we're
Unfortunately.
full of them, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Catherine?
Question about the Maple Avenue Bridge, since it's the only bridge in town now. What are we doing about making sure that we keep that in good repair?
Well, we do what the state will allow us to do. I learned today that the state doesn't let us wash the salt off the underneath of the bridges. The state doesn't let us sand and paint the underneath of the bridges. So all we can do is...
For environmental reasons.
Yeah, for environmental reasons. So all we can do is monitor, and to do our due diligence to get this bridge.
I remember when the last one.
Is it a low salt area? Often they have low salt areas at bridges over ecologically sensitive areas, but if it's it's over the river, so you can't do all of that stuff, but so it reduces the amount of salt, so people do have to slow down as they go over the bridge, but maybe that would make the bridge last a little bit.
We'll
But
entertain all thoughts.
historically, it wasn't.
Sorry?
But historically, it was heavily
No,
salted.
but
So
it's
the
never too
corrosion we're
late to
facing is
start
not
when you've only got
present.
one bridge
No.
left. So.
Yeah, hopefully that slows down the corrosion, but.
Personally, I'd like to thank you all for coming tonight. It's really nice to see some faces in the audience, and we do very much appreciate your input and your thoughts on things, and thank you so much for coming. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Very good.